Okay. All right. Good afternoon, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. It's my pleasure to welcome you to the 30th edition of Inside the Arena. It's just like yesterday when we started, and now is the 30th edition. And I'm happy to have Inside the Arena a very distinguished Nigerian engineer who has caught his niche in the engineering profession, both out within and outside the country. Today, we are going to be taking him through his career and life. And for most of us who don't know him, we are going to know about him today. It's my pleasure to welcome inside the arena a very distinguished engineer, Kunle Adebajo, fellow of the Nigerian Society of Engineers. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you very much indeed, Ben. Good afternoon, everybody.
And I remain your host, Engineer Ben O.C. Oko. Before we commence, let's quickly, take participants through the rules. Again, we have 3 segments of this program. The first is what we call the direct free kick, where the host is going to direct all the questions to our guest. And then after that, we go to the corner kick segment. At the corner kick segment, we allow the participants to ask questions. And after that, we go to the extra time. And the extra time is the time we also put the participants on the hot seat and ask them a few questions about the guests. And today, 2 lucky participants are going to be going home with 2 fantastic prizes. One is a printer, HP printer, and one is also a Google Chrome tablet. So please stay tuned and listen attentively. Get your biros and get your papers ready as we take you through this edition of Inside the Arena. Once again, sir, I want to welcome you to this edition of Inside the Arena. You have always been a very, let me say, consistent participant of the Inside the Arena. And I remember in one occasion you have won a prize inside the arena. And today we are lucky to have you as our guest for today. Let us begin by asking you, who is Engineer Kunle Adebajo? Can you share with us your background, your birth, your academic background, your family background, and all that we need to know about you in a nutshell?
Okay, thank you very much again, Ben, our wonderful Field Marshal host. I should start first by saying that I'm really privileged to be in the arena. It's, as you've said, it's something I followed from very early seasons, and I've been a beneficiary of the prize. So I'm hoping that today somebody else will definitely go away with some very nice prizes. It's always nice to be able to chat a little bit, and I hope we'll have a nice session this afternoon. Well, you've asked me who is Kunle Adebajo. I would have almost preferred some of the viewers to actually tell me who they see me as, but I'll try my best to just give you a very brief summary. Kunle Adebajo, I'm a civil structural engineer. I hail from Ijebu-Ode. My parents, both of blessed memory, come from Ijebu-Ode, Ogun State. I was born as an independence child in 1960, in June 4th. And I would say, just giving a very quick, brief, journey into my few years on Earth, I would say, and I'm hoping that today many who probably didn't know some of these things, I'll be telling them a bit here and there. At a very early age, at the age of 3 months, my father, who was originally a teacher, but then civil servant, who rose to the position of permanent secretary, he was posted to the UK. And so at the time I had a brother, I had a senior brother, 2 years older than myself. And so both of us, with my mom, we were bundled off to the UK. And I spent effectively 4 years and then came back to Nigeria. I was born in Ibadan. I was born in Jericho Nursing Home. And I think from an early age, I had always been interested in engineering. My elder brother would say he was going to be a doctor, and they bought him a toy stethoscope. And I always said I was going to be an engineer, and all the toys I received were also engineering based. I came back and I did my primary school in Staff School in the University of Ibadan, then moved on to the International School Ibadan, also in the University of Ibadan. And then I went to the UK to do my A-levels and to do my engineering. I did my engineering at the University of Wales Institute of Science and Technology. Wonderful place. I did a 4-year sandwich course, and it was by sheer circumstance that whilst I was doing my sandwich course, I had to go into the industry twice. It was what they call a thick sandwich. 1 year, then 6 months, then back, and then 6 months and back. So my second 6 months period, I was lucky to join the firm of Ovaro and Partners in Cardiff. And what I should say is really from then on, everything carried on along that line. In other aspects, I am a Christian. I'm a born-again Christian. I'm somebody who enjoys, a wide range of things, particularly music and sports and the likes. So that possibly, Ben, gives you at least the starting point of who Kunle Adebajo is.
Okay, you said when you were young, you have always developed interest in engineering. You were not specific. There are many engineering disciplines. What motivated you to choose civil engineering?
Now, that's a fantastic question because, when we're younger, in fact, I was even lucky. I said I wanted to be an engineer. I'm sure many children, they see what they see is what influences them. So if they see a policeman, they want to be a police. If they want to be, if they see somebody putting out, if you see a nurse. So in my case, I wanted to do engineering, but the engineering I knew was more, I guess, mechanical, to do with cars, or automobile, to do with aeroplanes. I didn't know very much at that time about civil engineering. But as I progressed, I started looking at the disciplines, and you're absolutely right. Engineering is fascinating. There are so many disciplines of all kinds: agricultural, space, electrical, electronics, etc. So I sort of got some advice that civil engineering was quite broad-based, and it would cater for a lot of potential interests, be it public health, be it transportation, be it structural, be it geotechnics. And so I think that was where I chose that civil engineering was likely to be what I wanted. But I should say one thing, Ben, and that was that even though I say I'd always wanted to do engineering and I knew I was going to do it, but there was a period of time when I had to select my A-levels. And I would say I almost buckled a little bit. I chose rather than do maths, physics, say chemistry, I went for maths, physics, economics with the view that possibly I will go into accountancy or something related to economics. Fortunately, I still stuck with my engineering, and that's where I am today.
Now after making choice to study civil engineering with your first degree, you went further and added a master's degree in structural steel from the University of London. Now, what again informed that decision? Why structural steel?
Well, why structural steel? I think actually it is probably the other way around. It was why University of London, Imperial College. I was planning to come back to Nigeria around 1986, and I just thought that, look, I shouldn't come back and then still be saying, no, I want to do masters and this and that and the other. So I actually said to my one or two of my seniors in the office that where was best for me to go and do a master's. And they actually said, why don't you go with Imperial College? Not only is it probably one of the best institutions for engineering in the world, but they also appreciate the value that engineers from the industry bring into the university. So I applied to Imperial College, and fortunately I was accepted. Now the choice had to be which of the specializations did I want, and I looked at it. I knew I was very much structural engineer. I hope this hasn't bumped up. I hope I'm still on. Yes.
Yes, we can hear you.
Very good. Okay. Something just went funny on my screen. Yeah, so I chose I could either have done reinforced concrete, I could have done a few others, but I chose structural steelwork because at the time at Arup in the Cardiff office, I was doing a lot of steel design. And interesting enough, getting back to Nigeria, I found that, of course, structural steelwork was relatively untapped in terms of those who took that up. Concrete, as we know, tends to be more of the regular choice. So that's how it came about. I've always believed, Ben, that it's God has a purpose for everything. And sometimes you find yourself in a destination and you look back and you just realize that it must have been God's plan.
Okay, you began your engineering practice in 1982 as a project engineer at Overo and Partners, United Kingdom. And then in 1984, you were on secondment to Sir Robert McAfee and Sons Limited, still in United Kingdom. Then you came back to Overo in 1987, Nigeria, and you have been in the same firm and has risen to the chairman CEO. Can you give some should I call insight into your rise and how you came to be the CEO of Overo and Partners in Nigeria? What's the connection between that of the United Kingdom?
Oh, good question. Arup, as you know, is a global organization. We actually have offices all around the world. But originally, it wasn't all one company. It started with our founder, Overo and some of the landmark projects that started were things like the Sydney Opera House, which was what really, made him a name. But you had different offices opening up based on opportunities and projects. And so Nigeria The first project was actually University of Ibadan. And it was designed, a lot of it was designed in the UK. And when it was time to implement and build, some engineers came down. And of course, on getting into Nigeria, they saw what a fertile environment it was for opportunities. And the rest is history. So we remained as a practice, independent practice, and we still are. We're a Nigerian firm. We're registered in Nigeria, but we remain part of the Arup partnerships, which means that we do everything basically together. We use the same email addresses. We use the same software. We use the same servers. So effectively, it's one Arup. And I'm sure at some stage, there'll be even more closer mates coming in the future.
Okay, you have been in Arup since '82. Can you give us, some brief background on some of the projects, major projects you have been involved in?
That's a good one because there are many. I'm sure since '82, it's well, specifically in Nigeria since '87. I won't tell you. I'll probably mention some that just gladden my heart. One good thing about doing engineering is that it's a very fulfilling profession. You get to see the works of your hand, and it's enduring. You can go past your projects 10, 15 years after and point to it and say, oh, I remember when this was literally nothing, and now it's here. So some of those landmark iconic ones are things like the Civic Center building, which has the unique shape, and it's almost synonymous now with Lagos when you're looking at iconic buildings, and the Civic Towers next to it. Along that same axis, the Radisson Hotel, and quite a lot of others. But I will actually tell you that apart from the glamorous buildings, probably what I would say took a large part of my earlier days was actually industrial work. And what I refer to industrial work was engineering for the manufacturing industry. Guinness in particular, Guinness Brewery. In my early days, I spent so long working on Guinness projects, one expansion or the other or whatever, that at a point, they used to think I worked for Guinness in the brewery, and of course, that wasn't the case, but it was really good. So those are some examples. I've done work, not just even on buildings, advisory work. We do a lot of advisory work where we're technical due diligence consultants for funds, for various projects, and lately a lot more in terms of sustainability, doing a lot of advisory work as well. So there are quite a lot. If I had to pull them out, would be here. I'm not sure you have all the time, but I think the bit to mention is that it's very, very fulfilling being able to point to projects that you've worked on.
Okay, which of these projects can you consider as the most challenging? The one that whenever you remember it, you will, look back and chuckle and say, yes, I did it.
Okay, so many who know me in the office will probably have expected me to talk about 20-story buildings or various very technical ones. But now that you've asked me, I'm going to tell you, and I'm going to shock you, that actually it's not even a project that was particularly large. Let me tell you what I think I chuckle every time I think about it. And that was that we received almost like an SOS message concerning then a UBA building on Broad Street. And what was the problem? We were told that it vibrates at night. They said it doesn't do it during the daytime, but it's at night, and they feel it on the 5th floor. Now, being a bank, they work through the night, or they were working through the night, and they were putting it down to possible spiritual issues. Maybe the landlord hadn't done this or the other. And we couldn't understand it. We said, it vibrates, but only at night. Can you describe it? And we had all sorts of explanations as to how this, what it was. So our client said, we need to sort this thing out. People were actually going off sick. They were not appearing for work because they were afraid that this building was going to collapse. And I took it on. I was the project director for that. And I actually spoke with the client and said, okay, we're going to come in and experience this vibration at night. So I have to stay over. So I came in, but they said, oh, please bring all your equipment and everything else. And I just knew that, well, what equipment am I going to necessarily take? But I did take, just for effects, I took my level and my staff and a few other things, set them up. So they were quite happy. And went through the night, nothing happened. I asked them, where is it? They said, well, it didn't happen tonight. So the following night, I was there in the building, Broad Street again, and went round, inspected as we engineers do. One thing about engineering is about putting things together, finding the solution based on all the evidence. And in a nutshell, I discovered what I thought was the solution. But I didn't want to tell them immediately. I wanted to be sure it was the case. So what I arranged was for a water tanker from the company to be available overnight. And I got it and did the necessary. I got it to drive down Broad Street. And you can imagine Broad Street at night is deserted. So this tanker could go pretty fast. I knew what the problem was, and I'll tell you what it was then. There was actually a break in the road. Somebody had dug up for a cable, and there was effectively a joint in the road. And when heavy vehicles, as they could only do at night, went down Broad Street, it led to some vibrations. And so I had planned it, I timed it, and I was there. And I got the tanker to drive down. And when it went past the joint, boom, there was a thud. And they rushed in. See, engineer, did you feel it? And of course, I said, no, I didn't feel anything. And they went away. And it happened again. And I was able to confirm that truly this was actually the cause, because that building was on shallow footings. And it was actually quite excited by the vibration. So I was able to, you can imagine how proud I was as a young engineer to now go the following day to the client and say, I found a solution, just repair this part of the road and all will be well. And since then, it's been sorted out. So some might call me a magician or whatever, but I think I was just being an engineer.
All right, fantastic. Who can you refer to as your mentor in the engineering profession? Who mentored you?
Well, I started my engineering in Cardiff, in the Cardiff office, and I had some wonderful mentors who just Arup as a firm, as a company, is such an amazing place. Because it really just leaves you with the opportunity to express yourself and be yourself. So in terms of mentors, it started really with one or two in the Cardiff office. When I came to Nigeria, also one or two of my bosses Jerry Clark, Engineer Wale Oyemade, and Bill Hague. They were also very influential in how I developed. But I will also say it's not just through within Arup. A lot of those who I'm seeing online here now, in one way or the other, have also served as mentors, because I am somebody who I actually believe in taking the best out of individual people. That, if anything, is the way I would attribute success, is that you can go with one single mentor, but in actual fact, if you actually take the very best out of various people. So various one or two past presidents of NSC, for instance, have special places in my heart. But generally, I will say it's literally every engineer and other professions who come my way. I will always treat everyone as a mentor in whatever form or the other and get the best out of them. I hope that's not a political response.
You have mentioned the Nigerian Society of Engineers. I think we have to go there now. When did you join the Nigerian Society of Engineers, and who introduced you to the society?
Okay, I joined in 1987. Immediately I came back from Nigeria. Immediately I got back from Nigeria, it was natural. I'd been a member of the Institution of Civil Engineers in the UK, and I decided to join NSC. At that time, most of my colleagues were also members, and at that time also was interesting. We had this, what we call the structural division of the Nigerian Society of Engineers. In particular, I remember a dear late colleague, Engineer Soji Dino, who actually insisted that I joined. I knew I was going to do so anyway. And others, Engineer Shola Sonny was there, etc. And once that happened, we were actually those instrumental in a way in bringing in the merger between what was then the Nigerian Institute of Structural Engineers and the Structural Division of NSC. That was the start, and thank God over the years, the NSC I think has been good to me. I've been good to them. So I think it's been a very good symbiotic relationship.
All right, you rose to become the president of the Nigerian Institution of Structural Engineers. And currently, just recently, you also became the vice president of the Association for Consulting Engineering in Nigeria, ACEN. And I believe in 2 years' time, you will, ascend to become the president of ACEN. Can you give us some insight about your involvement in these two organizations, particularly when you were president of the Nigerian Institution of Structural Engineers? Looking at that time, what was your biggest challenge as president, and also what was your biggest achievement as president?
Okay, when I became president of the Nigerian Institution of Structural Engineers, we were really very much in the throes of building collapse. Some will say we're still in it, but then it was almost like every other week. We were really besieged. And I'm sure we won't go into all the reasons for a lot of that, but the fact that so much engineering, so much construction was being done without qualified structural engineers being involved. So that characterized a lot of my tenure, where I would be called in the middle of the night, either by Channels TV or by NTA, or even by the PalmSec for Works or whatever, to say, please this collapse has taken place. And the one I remember, which was also whilst I was president, was actually the NIDB building. I'm not sure if you remember that, but that was where we had the partial collapse. Also, dare I say, on Broad Street. I'm not sure what my linkage is with Broad Street, but that was an interesting one where we also had to oversee the controlled implosion where the building was put down. So that was the biggest challenge. Another challenge is one that is an indirect one, and that was that at exactly the same time, my tenure to become chairman of the NSE Ikeja branch took place. So I actually had to take both positions. I definitely didn't want to drop either of them, or I wouldn't even have been allowed to do so. So I had both of those. And so it was challenging to be able to do. And I think, if I'm right, there may have been, at the same time, we did have one other person who also doubled with discipline and chairman. And that in itself is very interesting, but that's probably for another day. The difference between leading a division and leading the branch. So those were interesting ones. And I think one thing I will say about what I think I did whilst I was president was, I think, just to be able to get the concept of what structural engineers do to the common man. And one of the problems, Ben, that we've always faced in engineering generally is that engineering is so vital to everything. Everything runs basically on engineering. Engineering needs development. Development is engineering. But somehow we don't always seem to be able to get that message across to the general public. And so many still ask, what do engineers do? And so during that period of time, there was a bit of effort. It was helped by the building collapses, of course, but there was a bit of, I think we did quite well in being able to get a bit of the message across. It's an ongoing, it's still work in progress. Even up to today, we still have all these challenges.
In your view, do you think that the Nigerian public has been fair to the Nigerian engineers? The example I want to give is that every day in Nigeria, we have, every year in Nigeria, we have thousands of buildings that are built. And these buildings, they stand, if you come to Abuja, for instance, you see interchanges, great engineering masterpiece everywhere, scattered all over the city. They have not collapsed. But anytime there is a single collapse, which may be 0.00% compared to the ones that are standing, which have not collapsed, nobody talks about the ingenuity of engineers when talking about the ones that are standing. But whenever there is a collapse, it seems to, erode all the positive things engineers have done. And even when the engineers, if you carry out maybe an investigation, an engineer may not be involved, but the name in the lips of every Nigerian is Nigerian engineers are failed. Do you think that they are fair to the Nigerian engineers?
Well, I'm not so sure it's even an issue of fairness or not. I think it still follows a little bit of the same problem, and that is, are we getting the message across? But you're absolutely correct. Nobody goes around saying, wow, this building standing, oh, this one is doing this. But once there's any problem, I guess it's human nature. It becomes, where are the engineers? What are they doing? Are they properly trained? Can they do this? Can they do that? So I think it comes with the territory. It comes with the territory. And it's actually a testament to how effective most of Nigerian engineers have been that we don't even have that many. I mean, everywhere around the world, there are failures, there are collapses, but for every single one of those, there are nothing less than 50 success stories. And I think where the problem is that we probably don't celebrate our successes enough, and we don't make it available to the general public who, to be honest, they are going along their daily lives. I mean, let's be honest, Ben. If you get into a car to go from here to point B, all you're interested in really is to get there. And it's only when the engine when the car doesn't take you there, that you suddenly realize there's an engine, you suddenly realize there's a tire that has gone flat, you suddenly realize that there's a problem. So it comes with the territory. I think we are doing very well as Nigerian engineers. What if you are talking of fairness, I would say it's those that have probably not been as fair as they should be are, well, everyone says government, but I think are those who are not making the best use of engineering, local engineering resource, allowing us to make our mistakes, even if we make our mistakes, but to develop and grow, just like the Chinese, the Germans, and everyone else. And until we have developed our engineering profession to the point where we will always be the first port of choice, Nigeria is still going to be lagging behind.
You have served as chairman of the NSE Prevention and Failure Analysis Committee, and you've been in different committees, even the Codes and Standards Committee of the Nigerian Society of Engineers. You practice in Lagos, and most times of recent, with the major collapses we've had in the country, they say just recently, I think Gerrard Street collapse. If you are appointed by the government of Lagos State to solve the problems of building collapse in Lagos State, what are the key decisions you are going to take?
Well, I don't know if that's a blessing or a curse. If you say I'm going to be appointed, I think
if it is a committee, not assuming the Lagos State government calls you now, I say we have had these problems. We need a solution.
Well, first and foremost, I will address them to all we have been saying over the last 20 years. but yes, if that were to be the case, I think one of the biggest issues is that we have enough of the legislation, we have enough of the rules. It's enforcement. It's enforcement that is a problem. So you will have all the procedure in place, and people will be bypassing the procedure. The one you referred to in Ikoyi, we all know about it. Approval was given for a certain number of floors, and then the developer chooses to literally double it, and nothing is done about it. And even when it is found out, there doesn't seem to be the repercussions. And so that's really the issue. Are you committed to it or not? And that's the sort of thing we say. We say, yes, we can do all the talking, we can do all the grammar, we can do everything else, but there must be the political will to say, this, enough is enough, we're going to do it properly. I mean, that's actually the story of Nigeria. It's not just engineering. I think so many things. There's so much compromise. The system is corrupted. And I think the first thing will be, if you want me to be involved and you want me to use my valuable time, which I could have been using relaxing, do you promise that you are going to be committed and show the political will? I think, to be very honest and to be fair as well, over the last few years, I think government generally, certainly in Lagos State, they've become more more aligned to what I'm saying. And I think once that happens, you'll see, already we're seeing significant improvement, and that's the way forward.
All right. I think we have to stop here to once again. I know the house is filled up. For those who are just joining us, we have Inside the Arena, season 30. A very distinguished engineer, Engineer Kunle Adebajo, who is the CEO of Overarop and Partners Nigeria Limited, who has also served as Chairman Nigerian Site of Engineers, the Ikeja branch, and the President of the Nigerian Institution of Structural Engineers. And currently, he's the President-elect of the Association for Consulting Engineering in Nigeria, ACEN. It's been a wonderful time with you inside the arena, Engineer Kunle Adebajo. Now, let's take you to another segment of this program. Now, we talk about your professional career. We've talked about. Now, can you tell us more about your family? Is there any of your children that is studying engineering or that is an engineer?
I'm afraid not. Let me tell you a little bit about my family. I'm married to a wonderful lady who's my soulmate, and she happens to be a medical doctor, so we don't have that in common. But in actual fact, I think it complements itself very much so. I am now at a point where I can dispense small prescriptions, and she also knows probably more about engineering than I do. But on a serious note, we have a set of twins who are now 31 years old, a boy and a girl. I remember when they were younger, I would have them in the car and we'd go past one of my sites, and I would be describing how fantastic it is, hoping that it will spur interest. But I'm afraid that's not the case. But I'm sure maybe my grandchildren at this stage they will probably heed more to it.
So now, what do you do at your free time?
Well, sometimes you actually ask yourself, do you have such a thing as free time? I know I've been described as a workaholic, and I know most of the time, round the clock, one is sort of working. But I do have free time. I do have other passions. For instance, I love watching football. I won't tell you that Liverpool, my team, has not been functioning too well in the last few games.
We are together. We don't work alone. That's my team.
We don't work alone, and it's looking like they're making me work alone now. So yeah, I watch football. I like football. I also love music. Actually, I love music, all forms. Once it's good. In fact, I know in school there are some friends who used to say to me, how can you like classical music and like Apala and like disco music and like electronic and love reggae? But the truth is, any good music I enjoy. And then I love traveling when I can travel. I also watch films when I can. So I just said, and then of course, being in Lagos, one of the key things for when you talk about free time is functions. We do that in grand style here, in particular in Lagos. So most weekends you are exhausted by the time you get back to work, from one wedding to one birthday to one function.
Wow. Now, what is your greatest passion?
For me, all we've talked about this afternoon is really nothing if if I have not been able to pass things on to the younger generation, to the youth, I must say I'm passionate about passing information to the point where at times maybe I probably end up giving a long lecture for something that may not have needed more than a few minutes. But it is the desire to make sure that I'm getting it across. Because I sometimes see some people who are very talented, but they're not replicating it. There's nothing beyond them being a star. And for me, I've gone beyond the point of wanting to be a star. I want to see a lot of starlets and others coming behind. So my greatest passion is actually to pass on information dissemination, training, teaching, mentoring the younger ones, because they need it. They really do need it. In our days, we were lucky we had very committed lecturers and seniors, but nowadays there's so much in terms of distractions that they really need it. And so I spend a good portion of my time trying to make sure that I give of myself. And that for me would be my own biggest legacy, is to be able to know that even now, I thank God I can see some online, some who have been, engineers under me. I like to be able to look back and actually marvel that, wow, see that guy. I knew what he was like at the beginning, and somehow I've been able to give of myself and, develop people. So that, I think, is professionally biggest passion that I would say there.
Now, since you joined Nigerian Society of Engineers, you have been very active. And I just noticed that you were chairman 2003 to 2005. You cut across two presidents of the Nigerian Society of Engineers, Engineer F. Shomolu and Engineer Bulama, were the presidents when you were the chairman. Now, looking at the Nigerian Society of Engineers and the engineering profession in general at that time, and this is about 20 years after, and now, are you fulfilled? Are you satisfied with the direction we are moving? Or do you think that there are things we should do better, or areas we should do better?
Okay, so firstly, I would just, since you've mentioned, you asked me about mentors, I would say Engineer Bulama, for instance, of blessed memory, was somebody who I just loved his disposition and the way he went about it. He recognized professionalism. So in those days, NSE was probably a little bit, I would probably say it was more of the name, the society. And there are some, I'm not sure if it's on this call, but some who we referred to ourselves as freedom fighters, in terms of trying very hard to make sure that the discipline in terms of our engineering discipline came to the forefront. So we wanted very much, and even up to today, we still preach it, that the divisions which represent what we are as engineers should be very strong. It's nice to have the social parts too. So direct answer to your question, I think what has happened, and it's getting better, is that there is at least the understanding that it's not all about elected positions and just having events and celebrations, but actually to look at strengthening our engineering practices, to strengthen what we are engineers for, and to make sure that we're making a difference. So it's going to be work in progress, but I want to use the opportunity to congratulate the current NSE president, Engineer Mrs. Margaret Oguntala, because I believe I have seen significant shift in terms of an understanding of what NSC should be about. And I know I'm not sure if she's online, but I know she always refers to me as Prof, because I guess I'm also giving you now even some form of a lecture. But I think the reality is when you have people who understand the value of training, of professionalism, there's no way that the organization they lead will not, get better and better. And so kudos to her, first female president of NSC, but kudos to all those who have come before and those who are coming behind. We need to get NSC to a position where the E is way above the S. We need to be sure that we're talking engineering, and we will have the full respect from around the world where they will say, we need to go to NSC to ask them about engineering because it's a center of excellence of engineering.
Wow. Wow. Okay. As we wrap up, let me ask you, let me share our experience when we are in school as engineering students. Our lecturers those days used to warn us. In fact, they threaten most of us. If you show interest in politics, they will tell you that you are not going to graduate from the school, that politics is not for engineers. And at the end of the day, you graduate, and then engineers, you are discouraged from participating in politics from school. And you lose the interest throughout your career, and you come out, and you find yourself in a situation where those who are not better than you are go into politics, and they take decisions that will affect your career throughout your life. So what advice do you have for our institutions in terms of engineering students and engagement in social, other activities, politics, and other areas of life? What is your take on that?
Okay, I was actually at a function about 2 or 3 days ago, where a politician stood up and said, you know what, the politicians have the power. They have the power. You can jump up and down, but at the end of the day, it's going to be the politician who's going to get this into law, or is going to get it into implementation. So there is no doubt, we as engineers, we've shied away a lot. If I actually talk personally from my heart, I will say that one of my biggest regrets is that I don't quite, I don't find it as easy to relate with a lot of the politicians by their very nature, because my training has been one of, professionalism and, saying it as it is, seeing it as it is, and acting as it is. But it's understandable that with some of those talents that we engineers have, we should be able to go into politics and amend it to suit us. So I would advise that those who feel that they are disposed towards that should actually take that opportunity and that route. But I will say to the others, and this is what I always say to most of the young engineers now, even if you're not in politics, you need to cultivate those things that will allow you to be influential. You need to be influential in one form or the other, which means you must concentrate on your soft skills apart from the technical skills. It's not good enough just to be very, very good technically, and you can't get your message across. You can't communicate. You can't write reports. You can't articulate. So I said it many years ago, and I still continue to say that the key thing, whether you're in politics or you're on the fringes, you need to be able to influence. And to be able to influence, you need those skills. And those are the things that are not really being taught in our universities. So the sooner you get out and start to cultivate the soft skills, being able to negotiate, being able to communicate, you're on your way. But I will also say one thing, Ben, before I stop, and that is that it is now it's even more of a competitive environment now. You know, we're churning out engineers by the gallon, and it's so competitive just to be technically up to it, and then you have to add these others. But that's the truth. We engineers need to be literally supermen and superwomen to be able to make sure we can navigate, because there's no point just sticking to one side or the other. You actually need to, and I think we can actually be the bridge between practicality and getting the rules of the game, the implementation, the legislation sorted out. So that's what we have to do. Once we do that, I think we'll start to see the benefits of things that come from politics, whether you're in it or you're on the periphery.
I will ask you two questions in one. You returned to Nigeria in 1987. That's almost a few years to 40 years now. You've been in Nigeria. The Nigeria you saw in 1987 when you were in UK, if it was now, would you have taken that decision to come back to Nigeria now? That is number one question.
Okay.
Number two, you have practiced in Nigeria for 30-something years. Can you say that you are fulfilled as an engineer practicing in Nigeria?
Great question. I would have loved, unfortunately, I'm the one in the arena, so I have to answer the question. And I'd love you to answer the first one, because I'm sure all those online will say a resounding no. I would have stayed there, I guess. Because at that time, I mean, it's hard to tell people now that at that time, the Naira and the pound were literally twins, you know, and we've seen a total degradation of everything and anything. So, yes, to be honest, if it had been now, I would have been still sitting with the British, I'm afraid. even though I may not like their weather or their environment, I might miss their parties. But I don't blame, and you are indirectly asking the question about the Japa syndrome. I think I wouldn't blame those who see that they probably may be better off there, but I will warn, and it's important, this type of opportunities don't come too often. I will warn that not all that glitters over there is gold. You really need to think it through and work it out. And a lot of people make that jump and they eventually regret it. So it needs to be strategic wherever you go. But for me, if I say there's any benefit in the Japa syndrome, it is simply exposure, not actually economic, it's exposure. That when you get into environments where they recognize the opportunities, they don't look at age or one thing or the other. They can actually say, you're good, let's get you, and so exposure is good. But I would also turn it the other way around and say, Nigeria, there are so many opportunities. It is vast. So those who are online planning their trips, think twice, because there are a lot of opportunities. But you need to be good. And of course, you need God on your side. Your second question, just remind me. What was the second?
I said, can you, if you look at your journey so far, can you say you are fulfilled?
Yeah. I can't imagine why I didn't remember that, because that to me is probably the whole essence of this afternoon is that if you feel any passion, if you feel any bubbling in me, it is that I am actually so fulfilled as an engineer. I may not have an engineer in Nigeria. I may not have bags and bags of money, but I am very fulfilled. And I'll tell you one reason also. When in 1986, 87, I was in the Cardiff office doing some work, what I would do, I wouldn't even see the client. And that's for a firm that is way, way ahead in opening up. And I would do small elements. When I came back to Nigeria, it was like a sink or swim. I took on projects and, I was given the latitude. And it is so exciting when you know that you are able to be creative, you're able to do, you are not constrained to just design 2 columns and then we need to check you out, but you actually take those decisions. And at the time, my own bosses left me to do it. And I was taking on, projects that hitherto people would have said, how many years? No, it can't be like this. Instead, they just recognize ability and allowed for it. So the second one is definitely a capital yes. I am actually very fulfilled. I could be even more fulfilled if I see a great future in engineering in Nigeria. Right now, I must admit, I feel a little bit in between. I know there are opportunities, but I'm looking at our profession and I think we still need to salvage it. So I will just simply say, yes, I'm fulfilled, but I still have some years to go. I am looking forward to greater fulfillment, not necessarily for myself, but for engineering and for the nation in general.
Wow. All right. The final question I'm going to ask you is, have you written any book about your life?
Well, the answer is no. You asked me about what I have in my free time. I told you I hardly had free time. So
now, do you have any plan? And if the answer is yes, what title would you, give to the book about your life?
Okay, I definitely need to do something. I need to document the bits that there are many engineers around who have heard. They've shared some of me this afternoon. Thank you for the opportunity. I'm sure some are seeing bits of it, but I do agree there's a need to document. So maybe I would have a book if I got down to it. In terms of the title, there would be many. The first one that comes to mind is what you have already planted in me now, which is the fulfilled engineer. But I would say if I had to, maybe not so much a book, but a lecture in totality where I called everyone around and I said, this is my engineering life. I think I would tie it in very much to the profession that I have and the profession my wife has, which is the similarities between medicine and engineering. Every time I give examples, I find that happens because generally there's so many similarities. So I would probably coin something out of that, I don't want to think just yet, but it will have in it engineering, and it will play on words, engineering and probably health of some kind.
Interesting. Wow. It's been a wonderful time with. I wish we could go on and on and on, but we are going to allow the participants to also have the opportunity to ask you questions. We've been inside the arena with engineer, let me call it in full this time, around engineer Adekunle Ayodeji Adebajo. For many that just know him as Engineer Kunle Adebajo, which is the popular name, at least we are giving you the opportunity to know the ones you didn't know about him. So it's been a very wonderful time with you, sir. On that note, it's my pleasure to take us to the next segment of this program, which is the corner kick segment. And if you have a question to ask, you just click on the reaction button. Then you click on raise hand. We will unmute you to ask your question. So it's question time from the participants. I can see very senior engineers also who are here with us. Engineer Yopele Beredugo is here with us. Engineer Edet Amana. I can see my boss also, Engineer Dr. Robbie James Owivri, Engineer Aliu Aziz.
Thank you,
You are
everyone.
all welcome. Okay, question, Engineer Humphrey Okereke.
Okay, thank you very much, my president. Thank you so much, sir, for this very entertaining and educating presentation of your journey in life and also in engineering. I would want to ask very quickly, in your practice years, how do you see the synergy that exists between the various arms of engineering, the various engineering segments, say civil, mechanical, electrical, and all those? So is there the required synergy that exists between these professions, especially when it has to do with project execution? What is your experience there? Is there a room for improvement? Is there how we can help each other grow in the engineering profession? Thank you.
Okay, sir.
Do you want me to respond to each one, or you want to take a few?
Okay, this is the only one that has raised his hand.
Okay.
Maybe we can take more if they're
okay. So let me take that. Thank you very much, Engineer Humphrey. I think that's a wonderful question, because it does demonstrate that actually if you were at the beginning of the show, we were talking about the choice of engineering, and it's important to let people know that actually when we refer to civil engineering, in those days it was every aspect of engineering other than military engineering. So civil engineering actually is the mother of engineering, and of course mechanical, electrical, others have grown out of this. Also in those days, the real engineers, the Brunelli and co, they were complete engineers. They knew most of all aspects. But as we move into this newer age, there's a lot more specialization. We now find that it's usually better, rather than being too broad, to really concentrate and be an expert at something, so that they will always call you in. And so that comes to your question. I think we do need to be collaborating much more. There is a concept that Sir Obarov actually introduced so many years ago, something close to 50 years ago, and that was total architecture or total engineering. And the concept is to bring all parties into the room together to collaborate, rather than wait for one to do his own thing in isolation and then pass on to the other. And it has been found that it always leads to much more successful projects. So I think the answer is yes, we do need to be helping ourselves more, to be less protective of our space, but also, and that's the big capital warning too, to make sure that we don't take on things that we're not competent in. And so the fact that you're an engineer does not mean that you can do all aspects of engineering. And I think that's a danger that we are falling into, and we must avoid it at all costs. You don't want to be, say, an agricultural engineer, and that's a wonderful profession to be in, or discipline, and then say that you are designing bridges, and vice versa, or to be an electrical engineer and necessarily say that you can do chemical assessments or chemical engineering. So I would say that's how I would respond.
Okay, the next one the next question, while we are waiting for the next question, let me also acknowledge Engineer Mudashiru Bola, Engineer Ozigi, Engineer Obi Okusogu, Engineer Meka Ara, Engineer Ademola Israel. I think we have Engineer Taiwo Oladusu. You can unmute your mic, sir. Unmute your mic, sir. We have given you permission to unmute your mic. Click on unmute. Engineer Taiwo.
Yeah.
Okay, go on, sir.
Yes, I really want to appreciate the presentation about the practice of engineering in Nigeria, most especially from the late 80s up to now. What I want to ask the presenter is, what has he seen that is different in the practice of engineering in those days and now, taking into consideration most especially his own profession or specialty, whereby when you want to design a particular structure, it takes you possibly a week, even not a month, for you to come out with a perfect design. But nowadays, considering the advent and emergence of different types of applications, and to cap it all, the artificial intelligence, I want you to situate the two, compare with what is being done, what was being done then, and what is being practiced now, and so for him to also look at the disadvantage, because virtually you can do virtually everything now. Because once you have the basic background, most of the design are being done by the use of this application, most especially this emergence of artificial intelligence. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Engineer Taiwo Olajesu. That's a brilliant question. It straddles all the period we're talking about. Let me mention, and I still think I'm very much a young person, a young engineer, but I will tell you that we have seen a world of difference. When I was in university, we didn't have any form of computers, talk about PCs. We had the mainframe computer, and we had cards. And those cards, we will punch and compile them. And then we'll put rubber band around them, take them to the computer lab in the university and pop it in overnight. We'll then get back in the morning and connect our printout. It will have been just a basic Fortran program. I equals 1 to n, do this, so. And we suddenly find we made a slight mistake. The thing will give error. You now take it back, go and repunch, and put it overnight again for another one. So that was very, very interesting. We moved from things like drawing boards with T-squares, and we've moved now to a situation where you can literally, with your little, not even a laptop now, even almost on your phone, you can do very, very complex calculations and drawings. So you are absolutely correct. There's been a big, big change, huge change. But let me tell you what the biggest change is, and you already alluded to it. It is the fact that with the computerization, all the laborious work, all the tedious work is now being taken on by the computer. So the heavy lifting, as they call it, is taken off your back, which means that as a good designer, as a good engineer, it should actually free up more of your resource to do the thinking, to do the innovation, to look at areas that hitherto you couldn't look at because you are so busy having to do numbers upon pages and numbers upon pages. So that's what is a big decision. And now, almost as if we thought we had seen it all, here comes AI. Artificial intelligence is now even threatening to speeding up things even more, because you can literally just describe something to the computer and it will effectively do it, as long as it has received some forms of training. It just gets it out there. So things are changing, and I'm going to say that if we were having this discussion in another 5 years, I don't know what it would be, because things are changing so fast. It's a good thing because of what I've said, but it's a dangerous one too, which is what you're asking for. You're asking what are the disadvantages. One of the biggest disadvantages of having software and computers is that you don't know, or you needn't know properly what is going on. And that's dangerous, because it means that the end result, you just take it. You have nothing on which to base and say it is good. Let me give you a very quick example. In those days of NITEL and so on, you remembered somebody's phone number is, 586 something, something, something. And so if somebody told you a different number, you say, no, that's not it. But now on our phones, you only need to press the person's name. You don't need to see a number. And whoever that computer brings up, you will say, hello, Bob, how are you? Because you assume it is Bob. On a day that you now don't have your phone with you, 15 other people around you will have phones. Oh yeah, ring Bob. I can't ring Bob because I don't know his number, because unless I have my own phone. So we actually have a scenario where in engineering, we'll now be getting results out of software, and we won't be properly enlightened as to, is this correct or is it not? Does it look wrong or right? And talking specifically about structural engineering, if you don't feel and understand how structures behave, the results may surprise you. They may come out just because there's been a minus instead of a plus. It will turn it the other way around. If you don't understand it, you are going to be in real trouble. And those are going to be the ones that will really lead to the collapses, because it will be actually contrary to what should be done. So dangers, we need to still stick to some traditional as well. Try to understand structures. And also, remember I said earlier about soft skills. We need to be able to communicate. If you just feel that you don't need to write a report because AI can do it for you, you will find that on a day when you don't have those tools, or if it writes it wrongly, you won't be in a position to know any different. So things have changed. They should be for the better, but we need to make sure that that is the case and not the other.
All right, sir. I think that would be the last Engineer Paul Imohiosin.
Thank you, my chairman. Good evening, sir. It's been a pleasure listening to you. My question is that, sir, as a past president of Nigeria Society of Engineers, what do you think the society needs to do to encourage more participation in the societal activities? Because you discover that from the university and you consider the number of graduates in the country, only about 30% after getting registered with NSCE, become corporate members and possibly register with Korea, only about 30% get involved in activities of NSC. And many people said, what do we gain? I'm gaining nothing from NSC. What am I going to gain? So what are they doing to me? What is my benefit? So going to getting involved in NSC activities like you're wasting your time. And you see, many people are doing very well, even without getting involved in NSC activity. But I think it's not good enough. I wanted to ask, sir, what do you think the NSC need to do so that at least, because we talk to many of them and they are not showing interest, so that they can be more interested? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I will be very brief. Firstly, to say I wasn't a president of NSC. I was the president of Nigerian Institution of Structural Engineers. However, your question is still valid. Whether it's NI Structi, whether it's NSC, whatever, any organization needs to be meaningful. People now know, am I getting value out of this thing? Nobody is going to sink their time and money if they're not getting value. So I think it's very important that engineers feel that this is something we want to be part of. And, when that happens, it becomes a symbiotic thing. Engineers too now decide that, okay, it's no longer about what I'm getting out of it. What can I also contribute? So it works both ways. And hopefully, we are going in the right direction. I can see, but one thing we must avoid in NSC is putting too much emphasis on ethnicity, lining up, my time, your time, and so on. I mean, those will happen, but that mustn't be the core thing. The core thing must be, let's have an organization where engineers actually get value out of it, and it helps their professional lives. It helps them move further, and it helps the country move. Those are the primary things. So I guess I would like to give a pass mark and say we are on the road to getting there. But it's going to take all of us, all hands on deck.
Thank you very much, sir.
I think I saw one other hand. Please, you're going to do it in just 3 seconds. Engineering the Kajet. Is it Kajetan or Kajet?
Okay. Good afternoon, sir. It's a Kajet. Kajeta, that's the abbreviation of Kajeta. Good afternoon.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Go on, sir.
My question now is that I really want to appreciate our able president, the workable president, who is on Stampede president. So I really thank you so much, sir, for this class. I really want to apologize as well for joining late. For the little time I spent, I really just picked up a lot of things that will help me as a practicing structural engineer. My question now is just a brief one. Just go almost with the past guy that just asked question. My question goes in this way. I've noticed there is a decline in young graduate joining NSC or even pushing harder to be certified by current, just like what we did earlier to get where we are now. So I don't know, is there any measure, either planning or already put in place to make sure that people do practice professionally that would need them to insist in participating or being a member of these noble organizations that we have that checkmate our professional display, character displaying outside there in our field of professionals. I don't know if there's any, anyways, I'm sorry. I just joined in one of my sites, so I'm inside that trying to follow up. I'm sorry. I don't know how to consult my question, but it all boils down with, is there any measure already put in place, or is there maybe a plan to see that young ones, I've been on my own trying to encourage a lot of times to be made, where they end up asking questions like, what do they start to benefit in, bringing out their time and their resources to make sure they are.
I think your point is made.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yes.
All right.
Engineering, thank you for that. I'm glad you're an engineer, so you're on your site. You're working. But I think the reality of it, based on separate from how I responded earlier, I think one thing I always mention to engineers as well is go to the meetings. You know, at the very worst, you won't pick anything, but I'm sure there's so much that you get from it. I always wonder why you have some engineers who feel that they can be best in isolation. You can't. There's no engineer that can't benefit from, professional, collaboration, from getting, iron sharpeneth iron and the likes. So definitely, there's a lot there. Within NSC, it's actually a very well structured organization, irrespective of the few shortcomings. For instance, I currently I'm chairing the engineering ethics and diversity committee. So you can see that it's forward thinking. It's recognizing the impact of ethics, talking about diversity, talking about regulations, and there's so many other people doing wonderful things. But a lot of our engineers, a large number of our engineers, just somehow either they feel isolated and they're just not making the effort. And I think the best you can do as an engineer, whether at the top, middle, or starting, is get involved, take what you can out of it, and you might be pleasantly surprised.
Wow. All right. Thank you very much, our guest, Engineer Kunle Adebajo, for making it to Inside the Arena Season 30. We'll continue to have interesting seasons of this program. I assure you that. Now we are going straight to the segment that most of us are waiting for. Before we do that, let me quickly acknowledge I saw our Vice President, Engineer Oshiki. I can also see Engineer Shetima all the way from Medugri, Engineer Professor Malo, Engineer Mena, Engineer Joan, Engineer Mora Aquino, Engineer Kechi Sigwe, Engineer Idiata Musu, Engineer Felix Ebuzeme, Engineer Antofo, Engineer Anyo, and Engineer Anza. So many of our senior engineers who have joined us. Please bear with us if we can't call or mention your name. All of us here, we are all recognized. Now, we are going to the final segment of this program, and that is what we call the extra time. And that is when we put the participants to hot seat. I say we have 2 prizes that are going to be won today. In a little adjustment to our previous method of asking questions, I will ask one question. The first person that gets it wins the first prize. The second person wins the second prize. We are going to be asking 2 different questions for these prizes we have today. When we finish, the first person wins the prize. The first prize we are going to be calling will be the tablet, the Google Chrome. So we are going to ask the question, and that's our first prize, and then ask another question for the printer. So get ready, please. I know many of you who preempt the questions we are going to ask, keep answers ready. If you send in any answer before we say go, then you will be disqualified. Now get ready. What is the nickname the current president of NSC calls him? Go. Before we start getting the answers, let's take the correct answer first. So what is the correct answer? Engineer Oguntaba calls you a name. What name does she call you?
She calls me Prof.
Prof. So let's go to the chat box and see the people that got it right. I see Prog. I don't think that is the correct
Prof.
answer. And I can see Yusuf Olatoye,
Yes.
Prof. From my
Yusuf
own
Olatoye.
end, I don't know if that is the first person that got the correct answer from your end.
It is. It is. I
Yes.
should also say, Ben, that is engineering at work. In other words, you may get most of it right, but if you make one slip, you end up with a disaster. So, Dr. Ezekiel, unfortunately, you did frog, and even though you got 3 out of 4, it doesn't count. So Yusuf Olatoye looks like the winner for this one. MP Shetima, wow, my dear brother, you almost made it.
MP Shetima came.
He came second.
MP Shetima came second. Okay.
Amina third.
We still continue with the second question. And the question is as simple as what is the name not of the street, not of anything, but the club he supports go?
Wow, I can see a lot of fast fingers here. I wish the team was as fast as this yesterday.
Okay, we are beginning with that. The correct answer is Liverpool. I think so, sir.
It is. Actually, I would say, again, in engineering terms, you sometimes need to use the full thing, which will have had been the FC. And I know there's someone down the line who has done Liverpool Football Club. But because we are looking at what's commonly known and what was referred to, definitely Liverpool is the winner, is the answer here. So we have Said Adeyemi, I think, was the first. Is that correct?
I am seeing from here. Is it Sahid? Oh, some people were even writing Broad Street already.
Oh, sorry. Oh, let me just check that. He said, bro, sorry. Olawale Emiola.
No, it is Sahid.
Yes,
is it Olawale that came?
It looks like it.
Okay. Olawale Eniola first, Ben Ibe second, Henshaw.
Oga Ben Ibe. Sorry,
I think. Please, can you confirm from your end also once again before we call the wrong person? Let me take it up again. I can see number 1 is okay. Somebody was saying Jericho doesn't know me, but
you know what happened there? They had anticipated the question. And they must have already written it and pressed send before.
Yes. I think it's Eniola Olawale that is the first from my end.
Yes.
Eniola, let me get you. I can't find you again.
He's there. Olawale.
Okay.
Olawale.
Okay.
1634.
All right. Please, can you unmute yourself and show us your faces so that we can see you? Eniola and Yusuf.
Hello, sir.
Okay, Yusuf, can you show us your face? Put on your video, Eniola also the same thing.
No. I don't know. I don't know.
Emiola, please, can you show us your face? Put your video. Good, good. Okay, fantastic. Yusuf, can you do the same thing? Can you turn on your video? Okay, fantastic. So, congratulations to both of you. Yusuf, you have won the tab.
Congratulations.
And Emiola, you have won the printer. Where are you based?
Yeah, I'm based in Lagos.
Fantastic. It's easy. Olawale, where are you based?
I'm also based in Lagos.
Oh, Lagosians came on board today. So what will happen is this: you have my phone number. I will put my phone number in the chat box. So you send me your information so that we can send you you send us your location, or we tell you where to pick up the prices in Lagos.
Okay, sir. Thank
Is
you
that
very much.
okay?
Yeah,
So my
very
Yes, it's
number
fine.
is 080-6003-7227. So you call me after the program.
okay, sir.
6003-7227. All right. Thank you very much to all our participants. I want to say a very big thank you to all of you for participating. You can see we had a full house today. We reached our limit, and also we have those who joined us via Facebook, so, because it's streaming live. So I want to especially thank our guest, Engineer Akunle Adebacho, for this wonderful time he has spent with us, and also thank the management of OVRUP for providing the prizes for today. We thank everyone who has joined us for today, our senior colleagues, our members, and all the participants. We say, see you this time next month for the next edition of Inside the Arena. That will be the season 31. Once again, thank you, and do have a wonderful day. On that note, it's my pleasure to officially sign out. Thank you.
Thank you very much, everybody. God bless you all, and have a wonderful weekend ahead.
All right, and you too, sir.